automotive college is probably the biggest waste of time you're ever going to have in your life. I've gotten to a point where my videos seem to do more popular when I talk about my own personal experiences versus things that I kind of know a little bit about, but not fully. The only problem with that is I'm only 24, so my experiences are pretty limited, and that's probably going to give me a problem for making videos in the future. But for right now, let's just talk about the shit that I deal with on a daily basis. Yeah, so I went to an automotive school for 2 years. I ended up going to New England Tech in Rhode Island. And that was the biggest waste of 30 something thousand dollars I've ever spent in my entire life. And pretty much it was a waste for everyone else who was there too. Big reason is because if you want to get into the automotive industry, nobody actually cares if you have a college degree or an associate's or anything. Like blue collar nowadays is completely unnecessary to have any type of degree. They really just are, striving to have, just people to work. So having a college degree was a waste of time. And paying for an auto, and plus I got screwed over during COVID too, which means that half my classes I had just paid. I didn't get any type of reimbursement for not taking any type of classes. The school wouldn't back up you know, their, you know, their message, I guess, or they wouldn't back up their end of the bargain because they would have went bankrupt during COVID if they gave people refunds for not giving them classes. So I was out like $5,000 out of my total value. So I spent an extra $5,000 for a class I never even took. So yeah, I mean, you really just don't get anything out of it. So one of the biggest things, which was a waste of time, was lab scoping. So dealerships don't actually care how much time something takes because they're not going to pay you for it. So, you know, when you use lab scoping, chances are the problem that you have, the dealership is going to look at it and go, well, it's going to take this much time to do. And chances are the customer is not going to want to do it, or if it's covered under any type of warranty, they're just going to keep replacing parts. And we're not actually going to like fix the issue by taking everything apart, taking our time, making sure it's done right. Or we're just going to be YouTube mechanics and we're just going to look it up on YouTube, or there's a global repair, you know, website for all the dealerships. And essentially, you just look up whatever the problem is, and chances are one person found it, and then you just do what that person did, and then there you go. And then there's your problem. And the thing is, like, it's pretty, essentially the point I'm trying to get to is that automotive colleges are pretty useless. They don't really serve any type of purpose. It just makes your first year of your job pretty much just a free apprenticeship. And you have to pay interest on your loan. So not to, like, you got to pay interest on paying money, and that money is being used for something that's supposed to make you make money. So it's just a scheme. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. It's like they're giving you a problem and selling you the solution. I'm going to get a million comments. Like, so here's the thing. Kids my age or people my age that are, have grown up. Here's the thing. If your parents are pressuring you to go to college, for things like this, you have to make sure it's what you really want. Because a lot of parents are proud that their kid goes to college. But the reality is it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, because it ends up just making their lives harder financially, and it doesn't actually accomplish anything other than kind of just wasting money and time. But it's good for social status, I guess. and it's not really even good for social status. I grew up in a very old school Italian family, where a majority of them have this very ignorant idea of the world, where money kind of revolves around, you know, the social status within the family. So if you say no, I'm not going to go to college, it's kind of like we're the type that looks at you as if you're this like weird, like, what do you mean you're not going to get an education? Because older people just don't get it. They kind of stay in their own time zone, and they don't get like how back in the day it might have been like, oh, you're going to college, that's great. But modern day society, they just don't see, how the effects of that actually are. So if you're going to be a doctor, I could kind of see it more, but not exactly anything blue collar. That's really all stuff, unless you're like doing maybe things like blueprints or stuff. But more along the side, blue collar, there's not really any point to going to college, especially for the amount of debt that you're going to be in for going. One of my projects was, you needed to take apart a rear end of a car within a certain amount of time. I don't really know what it's preparing me for, because all the bolts on the rear end have already been taken apart a million times, so they're already loose. Everything's clean. There's no rust, and you have to do it within like 10 minutes. And it's just like, in what world, it's like it's just a pointless class, and it's a pointless structure of a class, and it's a pointless thing to teach, because it's only based on best case scenarios. It's like you have all the tools and you have no rust to deal with, and it didn't strip out any of the bolts from pretty much being blown up. Like, it kind of just was, the classes were all like that. It was just really unnecessary. Like, we were taking apart like planetary gear sets for Chrysler 727s, and it was just kind of like, Chrysler hasn't made a 727 automatic transmission in like 30 years. The whole point was just to kind of get you like hands-on and kind of getting the feel for it. But in reality, a lot of people that are in automotive school have already worked on a lot of cars by just tinkering around. And independent work on your own car and tinkering around is like 90% of the actual learning structure. Taking things apart that have already been apart before a million times, has no bearing on anything. And a big part of it is that it doesn't teach you any problem-solving skills. So problem-solving skills get built by getting stuck on things a million times. The more problems you run into, the smarter you become over time. School doesn't really teach you that, because it's like a neutered, place. The only problems you have to encounter are trying to get all the cars running in the parking lot, because all of the idiot students decided to fuck them up by just jabbing a bunch of wires together to the point where they don't run for training purposes. But that's not really problem solving. That's more or less just like, you're trying to get through your day and do your assignments, and you're having to fix the other students' fuck-ups. And a big problem with that is it goes against every single basic law of, problem-solving skills, because all the problems are misleading. So you have kids just like fucking around, like fucking with the car's engine harness and stuff like that, and then the car just works and doesn't work, and it's not like you have any type of spare parts or time to fix what the other kids fucked up on the car. And because we just got to get in the building and do our assignments. If there should honestly be classes where I feel like what would be more beneficial is if we had a class dedicated to just fixing all the cars in the parking lot, um, making sure that they run properly. Like, I feel like that is what the classes should be. They should get like really cheap cars, and we should just have to problem solve them and take them apart and see what's up, and a whole plethora of different types of models, and do our diagnostic process and have us learn how to take apart cars. You know, where it's kind of ridiculous because a lot of the teachers kind of are going based on this. Well, I'll give a bigger example. There was only one, I'm not going to name any names. There was one passionate teacher who actually taught pretty well, and it was for like a substructure of working on cars. So it wasn't exactly just working on cars, but he essentially brought in other aspects to help further our thinking capabilities on problem solving skills, which was amazing, and probably the only thing that was worth listening to. I also took an automotive history class, which was good. I think that's actually very important. And the whole working on the cars aspect was just not worth $30,000+. And for other schools like Universal Technical Institute, that are charging upwards of 40 plus, that is, and it's not even for a degree, it's for like the participation award, is absolutely ridiculous. And we were all kind of scammed into it. All the kids that kind of went there, there was one kid in my class who was an automotive photographer, and he was only there because his parents wanted him to, and he just barely got by because he didn't care. And a lot of people thought he was pretty dumb, but in reality he was actually super sophisticated with like automotive photography, and that was his passion and drive. And I think he ended up doing pretty well for himself after he left college and just did what he wanted. Yeah, I mean, college in any aspect nowadays is pretty much just a waste of time. I think college in general nowadays is just pretty overrated. It's not like it was back then. Nobody cares if you have a college degree nowadays. It doesn't get you ahead. It actually puts you behind, if anything. We're born right now into a society where if you don't make as much money as possible, you're not going to be able to survive. And the school systems are pretty much the direct opposite of that. You're not really paying for anything. You're just paying for a curricular system that's broken to grade you on assignments that don't matter, for you to get a gold star from a person who has very little meaning. So it's just a whole clusterfuck of issues. And people who did go to automotive school will know exactly what I mean. If you're looking to get into automotive school, don't. There's no point. If you want to get into the automotive industry, I would say don't. But if you just want to because it's just a job, just treat it as a job. Because it's nothing glorious. It's nothing glorious. And you don't need a college education to do it. You can start as a lube tech and then work your way up. That's all you need to do, really. I mean, I think I'm like the only one out of all the automotive jobs I've had where I've had a college degree in it, and I still am like the lowest paid person. So even having a college degree doesn't make you get any more of a higher pay or anything. It really isn't anything. It's just I don't even have a diploma. They were supposed to send it in my mail, but because we didn't walk across any stage because of COVID, and I don't even know if I got one. And I just ended up saying I had all my loans on the back burner, just paying minimum payments just to because they were just like an annoying fly that kept bothering me, and I just ended up saving enough money up and just paying them all off because I'm just like, this is stupid. But it's like I paid off it kind of sucks because I worked my ass off for all that money, and just to have to pay it back to a bank for an education system that wasn't worth it, and I didn't get anything out of. Well, the only thing that I got out of it is that I shouldn't have done it. So I guess it's a learning experience. I spent $30,000 to know that that's not something that I wanted to do. And hopefully I spent that $30,000 to teach other people that that's what they shouldn't do. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into cars, just work on the one you have, and just get the experience by fixing random shit. I mean, if you can, I don't know, if you can like fix your refrigerator, you can pretty much be an automotive mechanic. If you're just handy, you can figure it out. And then that's really all it takes. Being a handy person is like 90% of being an auto mechanic. And then you can just figure it out from there. Other than that, yeah, it's just not worth it. You don't learn anything. You waste your time. Yeah, I mean, for me, it acted as like kind of like a buffer period. I was in a relationship, and I'm like, I think a lot of kids will relate to this, especially people who are my age. You kind of leave high school and you're in this buffer zone, and you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Because, none of us learned anything from high school either, because our education system in this country is fucking awful. And we're like, all right, what are we supposed to do now? Well, I think the next step is college. And it's like, okay, well, what do you like? Well, you like cars, right? And it's like, yeah. It's like, so go to an automotive college. And it's like, okay. The only problem with that way of thinking is that, like, it's so formulaic that it's like, all right, well, you go to school, and then after that, and then you go to high school, and then after high school, you go to college. It's like, oh, well, what do you like? Well, I like cars. Well, that must mean that you like going to automotive school. No, not quite. It's like, well, you like, cooking, right? Yes, I love to cook. Well, that must mean culinary school is for you. I'm going to be honest. Doing stuff like that will probably take... Well, why does anybody like anything? Anybody likes anything because it's just enjoyable to them. It's fun. They can, put their mind and effort and creativity into it. But when you have to do things in the real world that are based around your passion, it just becomes this monotonous task, and you don't actually enjoy that aspect of it. Like, a lot of people who get into the automotive industry are people who are passionate about cars. And again, the reality of that is nobody likes to work on a bunch of shit boxes that are for other people, that they're getting paid shit amounts of money for, they had to pay for an education for, and they're just doing the same monotonous task of putting all-season tires on their car all the time. So nobody likes that. People want to do the fun stuff. They want to tinker. They want to see, I want to change this, and how does this affect this? They want to play. They want to just fuck around. And that further develops skills. But like, if you're a culinary student, it's like, oh, you get to go to culinary school. It's, oh, okay, great. And you probably get more from, I like to cook, but let's just think about this really quick. Let's critical think. Is culinary school good? It depends. I haven't went, so I don't really know, but I'm going to make an educated guess. It probably teaches you good fundamentals of, how to act and how to be in the kitchen, and how to, do lines and stuff like that. I know you have to work in a system and more like a team, especially in a kitchen. But I think when you get into the real world, all that kind of fades away unless you work at some type of special Gordon Ramsay restaurant. That's my belief. I could be 110% wrong. And I think a lot of it is, 90% of it is just creative nature, of mixing different flavors together and tastes, and it's chemistry. It's essentially chemistry, but in the form of food. And you get to explore different flavors and creativities, and there's history behind it, there's culture behind it, and you kind of get involved in this world of passion, and you go work for a Texas Roadhouse, and all of it gets sucked away. And that's kind of it, and that's just the real world. So when these corporations and dealerships are like, well, it's a job, you don't like it, it's like, yeah, no, because nobody does, and you don't like it either. The only reason why you like it is because you're the one making all the money. So it is what it is. I think college nowadays is overrated. Do you need to go? No, not really, because there's nothing really in this world that's worth going to college for. Like, I guess you can say a doctor, but then you're going to be in school, you're going to be in debt forever. And, 90% of, hospitals could be cleared up if fat people would just lose weight. And then there'd be a less need for doctors due to fucking cancer and heart disease, and diabetics. It's like, I feel like we're just kind of putting band-aids on everything, not solving actual issues. We just kind of don't, everything in our society is just so fucked up, and a lot of people see it now because of social media and are becoming more aware, but we're becoming so aware we see the mediocrity and nobody does anything about it. Well, I try. This is what these videos are for. This is me trying to do something about it. And, am I actually going to get anywhere doing this? Probably not. Because there's hundreds of thousands, or not, if not more, of other people in the world trying to do the same thing I'm doing. And it all comes down to, does the YouTube algorithm want you to? How's your luck? Are you hitting the market at the right time? Is the trend high? There's a lot of factors that come into play, and the rate of success is ridiculously low. The only thing I place my bets on is that these success rate is 0 if you don't do anything. But if you do something, that significantly increases your chances of success. And I don't think college is necessary, because why would you need to, let's be honest here, people. You're passionate and you want to make a YouTube channel, let's just say. Why would you go to college, spend $30,000 to work on cars, and get paid mediocre amounts of money to just pay back the loans you paid to go get the education, to get the job, to make the money, to be in a job that you hate for the rest of your life? Just make a YouTube channel. I honestly think you can make more money online than anything nowadays. There's no reason why. Go buy a car, right? You can make a YouTube channel like me, where you just complain all the time about stuff. You can make a YouTube channel about, if you're in good relations with your family or friends or something, or have a good decent space or a garage or something, you can just go buy a cheap car and build it with cheap parts, and then you'd probably build an audience around that, and it would do extremely well for you over time, and then you can get into the more complicated statistics of, all right, well, if I build this car, I'll get even more views, and then you can get fun with it, and you can try and get creative, and you can do the things you want to do. Now it's just not worth all this extra nonsense in the world nowadays to do anything other than what you want to do, because the money will follow. Just do your own thing. I completely am 100% against the modern automotive industry. I think all the cars that are coming out nowadays are just completely mediocre at best. And I think that personal passion for people is actually the biggest need now, more than anything. I think personal projects and passions will help develop things like the middle class into building small businesses built off of funds, off of fucking YouTube, honestly, or something online, because you can make more money doing that than you can at a day job. there's almost no reason to work for a company or a corporation other than the fact that I think people are too afraid to do their own thing. So here are my final thoughts. Do I think college was a waste of time? Yeah, I do. Didn't do anything for me. It could do something for you, but in today's society and market, I doubt it. I think you're just going to be wasting your time for a long time. Because, if you're unsure about what you want to do, it's better to not spend thousands of dollars into an education system. If you're unsure what you want to do, just get a regular job and live a regular life until you figure out what is it that you're passionate about, and then slowly put steps into that direction over time. And then if your thoughts are you want to go to school afterwards, then go ahead and do that. I think my son is waking up from his nap now, so I'm going to cut this video here. Peace out. I'll see you later.